الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأنجبين بهم نتولى ومن أعدائهم نتبرأ إلى الله. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. صلى على محمد وآل محمد. The topic that we have for tonight is the Ahkam, and the Ahkam for ladies in particular. There are some of the Ahkam that we have, that some of the rules that we have in fiqh, they are common between men and women. Some of them they are exclusively for women, some of them exclusively for men. Now some of these ahkam that are mushtarak, or that are common between both men and women, like for example prayers that we offer, fasts that we observe, that is common between the worships at large. Some tasks are exclusive for men, like for example establishing the Jummah prayers and leading the Jummah prayers, or participation in the Jummah prayers. That is for men. Now, in this era of ghaibat of the Imam, it is wajib takhiri and for men, and inshallah, when Imam returns, it will be wajib, mandatory, that we men have to participate in the Jummah then. But for women, it is not going to be wajib. It's up to them and up to the Imam what he decides if he wants them to participate or not. But the rule is for men. Like, for example, being a judge, a qazi, that is also exclusively for men, not for women. Being a marja, taqleed, or some job designations are such that Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has made them for men only. But for women, there are some tasks, like for example this ghusl that is done between men and women, prayers that is the common between the two. Or for example being a representative of someone, that is someone gives me the representation that I carry out the nikah ceremony for them. That can be given to a lady, and she also can carry out that nikah on behalf of someone for someone's wedding. Or for example, if you want to slaughter an animal to make it halal, there men can do it, even women can do it. In mustahab actions also, or in hajj, if someone he cannot for whatever reason travel to hajj, or has passed away, and the hajj is going to be a niyabati hajj on behalf of someone who has passed away, who is deceased, there the woman also, she can be a representative in performing the manasik hajj on behalf of that deceased. Likewise a man also, he can. And the same thing is prayers. If there are some outstanding prayers of a marhum, and then you want to hire someone to offer those prayers, there you don't need to necessarily go and hire men to offer the prayers for someone who has passed away. If there is a lady and you know that her qiraat is fine, she can offer prayers, and she does know the rules of offering prayers, she can carry out that task, and you can pay her, and you can for the qaza prayers of a marhum. So some tasks that can be given to them, some are exclusively for men, some exclusively for women, and some common between the two. Now there are so many questions that are asked in these days. I've just pointed some of the topics, and then inshallah we'll come to the main topic, and that is the exclusively for women. One of the questions that is asked a lot, it's regarding the qaza prayers. That is, how do we offer if someone was traveling and then he missed so many prayers, or she missed so many prayers, then she wants to make them up, and she is going to do them from home, and home she has to say her prayers in full. But what would it happen with those prayers that she has lost and she has missed? So the rule, according to all of the mujtahideen, is that she will make up the fasts and the prayers as she has lost them. the fast that she has lost, she will make it up at home, and the prayers that she missed as a musafir, she will pay them back as qasr. That is, if she missed Zohr and Asr as a musafir, two and two, two for Zohr, two for Asr, she'll make them up also, two for Zohr, two for Asr. Not that she is doing them home, so she has to do them full. As you've missed your prayers, you have to make them up. And likewise, it's the fast. Fast also, whatever fast have been missed, they have to be made up and they need to be performed. Now, sajda also, we've got quite a few kinds of sajda. A sajda which is wajib, a sajda which is mustahab, and a sajda which is haram. Sajda wajib are these sajdas that we perform in prayers, plus the sajdas that we perform when someone recites an ayah sajda. The ayah sajda is from those 4 surahs in Quran: Surat Alif Lam Mim Fussilat, Surat Alaq, Surat Najm, and Surat Sajda. So from these 4 surahs, if someone comes and recites the ayah sajda, it is wajib on you that you bow down in sajda immediately. So that wajib is wajib fawri. You have to do it immediately. You can't delay that. So that is wajib. Now, if you cannot perform that full sajda, in that qibla is also not required, and taharat is also not required, a mohr is also not required. Wherever you are, just bow down in sajda. And if you couldn't, at least you bow down in ishara, like for example, if you were in the kitchen cooking or if you were driving, so just with an ishara, just bow down, lower your forehead that you've performed that sajda. Likewise, if you were in your prayers and someone recited that ayah sajda, so in that salat, that as you were reciting, someone recited that ayah sajda, in obedience to Allah, just bow down your forehead a little bit that you've performed that sajda, and then you continue with your salat. And after the prayers, if you want, you can perform a proper sajda, and that is for the recitation for that ayah sajda that you heard. So that has to be live. If it was recorded, if it was being played from a recording, then that sajda is also not wajib. Sajda that is haram is that bowing down before anyone else apart from Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, that is not permitted. One of the questions again which is asked quite a lot, especially from the ladies, it's regarding istikhara. Istikhara means you are seeking good from Allah, that is, you couldn't decide. It's a state of confusion and you couldn't make up your mind what to do. For example, I want to buy a car and I can't make up my mind. Shall I buy it or shall I not buy it now? Now, the first thing in istikhara is that you get advice from someone sincere who can help you out. And once you've got that advice, and then you would decide whatever you want to do. You want to buy or you don't want to buy. If after getting that advice also, you couldn't decide, you couldn't make up your mind, then you get and perform an istikhara. You do an istikhara. Istikhara also, there are different ways of doing them. It's either with the tasbih or with the Quran. Now, our Ustad Ayatullah Uzma Jawadi Amuli, he doesn't do an istikhara neither for himself nor for others. He says istikhara for me is that whenever he wants to do something and he couldn't make up his mind, he performs a 2-rakat prayer, and then after that prayer he asks Allah, and whatever he is inspired with is that istikhara, and he does that. That is another way of istikhara. Istikhara doesn't mean that it is a fortune telling, it is a foretelling, if it is something that a future will be told. No, nothing happens like that. In an istikhara, it's just the confusion state you are in and you couldn't decide. You ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. It's a kind of a dua that you seek Allah to get help from Him, and then if that istikhara is good, you buy that car. If it is bad, you don't buy the car. And this istikhara is also not binding. If you want to, you did an istikhara to buy the car, but now you don't feel like buying it, and you want to go against the istikhara, you can do that just by paying a little bit of sadaqah. Pay that sadaqah, and then you can go against the istikhara. But this is showing disrespect to the existence of Allah wa Ta'ala, that you sought Him for help, and after getting that help, you are going against that istikhara. That is one. Now, the other thing is regarding waswas. Waswas means some people, this applies both to men and women. They fell in these traps of waswas, that is too much of doubting. I performed my wuzu, now I start doubting whether this wuzu was right or wrong. Now, sometimes you start rubbing and scrubbing your skin, your hand, your face. You just want that water to penetrate in your skin. We don't have all that in rubbing and scrubbing and wuzu and ghusl. Instruction of Allah is that you perform a wuzu, you perform a ghusl. Normally, just like everyone else, just like you wash your hands, you pour water on your face and your hands, and you are done. This waswasa is a satanic trap. It comes from him, and somehow he wants to create doubts in the minds of people and wants to say that this is not tahir, this is najis. So when you feel that you are falling in the traps of waswasa, quickly go against it and then see what every other person does. You also do the same. Sometimes people, they fell in the traps of this waswasa, saying that this washing machine that I have, the lid of it, the door of it, I put some najis clothes in them. Now that I see that it's been washed and initially it had touched the door and the water didn't come to the door, all those doubts, you don't need to look into them. Be normal. You've thrown the clothes in the washing machine, and the machine has washed the clothes for you. Unless you see a najasat in the clothes and then you see, yeah, it hasn't washed it, only then can you take it as najis. Otherwise, everything is tahir, everything is clean, everything is good for you. That is Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. He's made the rules so simple that as long as you do not know anything, everything is pak, everything is clean, everything is tahir for you. Now, that is regarding waswasa. So just take no notice of that doubt, all those confusions that will come to you. If it's in the prayers, you don't know if it's second rakat, third rakat, four rakat. If it's something new that has come to you and you really have a doubt over there, you sit and you find out in that namaz whether it's that the doubt is valid or not. If it's something that you see that no, it's coming every day now, and I have to, if I give notice to that doubt and that confusion that is being created, just give no notice to it and then say, no, I'm done with my namaz and I'm not going to repeat it. And then you'll see that the next time everything will be fixed back to normal. One of these people, Mu'mineen, he comes to Ayatollah al-Uzma Burujardi, and there he tells him that you said that niyat is wajib in prayers. Now whatever I do, this niyat doesn't come in me, and I am just doing my prayers without knowing, without a niyat. Ayatollah al-Uzma Burujardi, he tells him that, and he says, I'm your muqallid, I want a fatwa from you. He says, truly speaking, according to my fatwa, niyat is not wajib. You just do your prayers as you are doing without any niyat. He got happy that I have to do my prayers without niyat, and after a few days he comes back and he says that you said niyat is not wajib. But now whatever I do, the niyat, it's coming all by itself. So what do I do? So that is waswasa. So just give no notice to it. The moment you stop giving importance to that waswasa, those traps that are laid by shaitan, you will see that everything fixed. That it applies to these doubts that are casted by Iblis in taharat and najasat issues in your prayers and the count of raka'at, etc., etc. Now the other thing is regarding the worship that we have. Some of these worships, they are haram. Now some of these worships haram, like for example prayers, fast, tawaf, i'tikaf, for a woman in the state of haze, that is in a state of her monthly cycle. So if she does it saying that no, I want to perform it, it's a sin that she has committed. So she's not doing any good. She is accumulating sins, because Allah said in those days, no salat, no fast, no tawaf, no i'tikaf, don't go to Masjid al-Haram. Now there are many, not many, I do get calls and questions that I'm doing something extra, although I'm not allowed to, so he should be happy. No, he's not. He wants you to be obedient. He says, when in that state, you should not, so you must not. That is ita'at that we have to learn. So in those days, that worship, it is haram. Or for example, the nawafil of Zuhr. We have nawafil for every prayer. We have nawafil for Fajr, for Zuhr, for Maghrib, Asr, for Maghrib, and for Isha. The nawafil for Fajr are 2 rakat before the Fajr prayers. Zohr it is 8 rakaat before the Zohr prayers. Asr it is 8 rakaat before the Asr prayers. Maghrib it's 4 rakaat after Maghrib, and Isha it's 2 rakaat sitting after the Salat al Isha. Now we've got 8 rakaat nafila for Zohr and 8 for Asr. Now someone, if he is a traveler, if he is a musafir, then he doesn't have that nawafil. It's been waived. If someone offers those nawafil whilst he is traveling and his salat is also qasr, he has committed a sin. He has committed a haram. So that is one of those sins. Now, one of the other wajibat that we have, and if someone wants to do them, for example, ghusl janabat was wajib on someone, he performed that ghusl. Now after ghusl, he says that I want to do a wuzu also on top of that. That wuzu also, although it's with that intention that I'm doing a wuzu after janabat, that is also not permitted. Of fasting on the day of Eid, that is haram. So although fasting is good, but on the day of Eid it is haram, it is not allowed. Or reciting the surahs with a wajib sajda in the state of janabat, that is haram, not allowed. Now here the rule of the ulama, it differs. Marhum Imam Khomeini, he says that the entire surah, that is, for example, Suratul Alaq, if a lady, she is in her days and then she wants to recite Suratul Alaq, according to Imam Khomeini, she cannot recite neither the Bismillah nor the ayah sajda, nor any portion, any part of that surah. Ayatollah al-Uzma Sistani and Ayatollah al-Uzma Khamenei, they are of the opinion that it's only that ayah of sajda is what she is not allowed to recite when she is in her days, or if a man, he is in the state of janabat, he cannot recite that ayah only. But according to Imam Khomeini, the entire surah is there. Now, this was regarding some of these questions that are generally asked, and inshallah it will be of benefit. Now there is this distinction between men and women that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, He has created. Men are created for a task, women are created for another task. Ahkam that are for them, they are observed in a different way. Ahkam that are on men, they are also observed in a different way. Between the two genders, that is men and women, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says that there are some who are mahram to you, some non-mahram to you. For women, those who are mahram to her is first her father and grandfather, all the way up to Hazrat Adam. All of those grandfathers will be mahram to you. Your son and all those that descend from that son, all of them will be mahram to you. Your husband is mahram to you. Your father-in-law is also mahram to you. And likewise all the way upwards, when you go in those father's father, for example, all of son-in-law is also mahram to you. From your descendants of your brothers and sisters, the immediate sons of your brother, they are mahram to you. The immediate sons of your sister, they too are mahram to you. So these are those that are mahram to a woman. There are 10 in the category, and apart from that, everyone will be a non-mahram. Now, if the lady, she has nursed another child, another son, another baby, a boy, he will be mahram to her if she has nursed her, given milk to her 15 times in a row or one whole day. So, example, if she starts giving milk, breastfeeding that boy who is below 2 years of age, and then she gives her milk, Zohr she started until the next day Zohr, for one whole day she fed her. So that baby will be mahram to her, only to her. And then it is not as such that because she gave milk to that baby, and then all the siblings of that baby will become mahram to this lady. No, only that one son, that one boy, one child will be mahram to this lady who has breastfed her. And then the ahkam of rida'at also apply over here. It's only that mahramiyat, that is between that child and this mother and the children of this mother, they will be brothers and sisters. Inheritance doesn't apply. Neither does she inherit from that baby, nor that child or baby inherit from the mother because she has. So that is regarding the mahramiyah. One of the masail that is wrongly practiced is foster parents, or if a child is adopted, even from his infancy or childhood, and then, for example, I adopt one and I give her my name, and I raise her at home. Ultimately, she is not mahram to me. I'm not mahram to her. She is not mahram to me. So adoption doesn't make anyone mahram to anyone. So mahramiyat is either sababi or nasabi. Sababi means immediate blood relations, there they become mahram, or it is nasabi, that is by way of, for example, my son-in-law, my daughter-in-law. My daughter-in-law will be mahram to me because she is the wife of my son, or my son-in-law will be mahram to my wife because he is the husband of my daughter. So that is the sababi and nasabi. Or ridai, that is when you nurse and that there are rules also for that nursing and feeding that child that are mentioned in the books. Now this is regarding the mahram and that non-mahram category. That what Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says, there has to be a total segregation between the two genders. So there has to be a cover between the two. There has to be a dress code between the two. Women, they have to cover themselves from men. Men also, they have to cover themselves from women. That is what is wajib. Now, how much of a cover is wajib on a woman? A woman before someone who is not mahram to her. The term used in fiqh is that she is awrat, meaning that the entire body of the woman needs to be covered. And for the man also, definitely his private parts need to be covered, and also generally that part of the body which is covered at large has to be covered before everyone else. So that is the cover that Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has placed. Now when it comes to association and mingling around with men with women, women with men, over here also there are some rules. There says that if it is a place where there is no one else and then just you and another not non-mahram, then the third person present over there will be Iblis, will be Shaitan. So going to a place where there is no one else and there is only two men and women, and both of them are not mahram to each other, staying in that place is haram. So either you leave that place or have someone with you or leave the door open, whatever, but that is the rule, that any place where men and women who are not mahram, man and woman, one and one, who are not mahram to each other are present, the third one will be Shaitan. Now how do you talk to one another? Over there also, Quran has a beautiful ayah, like every other ayah of Quran, in Surah Al-Ahzab, in ayah number 32. Says فلا تخضعن بالقول فيطمع الذي في قلبه مرض وقلنا قولا معروفا. That is, women, when the command is to the Prophet and the wives of the Prophet. So here when Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala speaks to the wives of the Prophet as such, so it is for the message to be conveyed to us, and our women, they also observe it. What is the command? Says that you are not like every other woman, to the wives of the Prophet. And then you have to be muttaqi, you have to be wary of God. And then when you talk to men, says that don't talk to them in a way that some of those men who there is sickness in their heart, marad in their heart, they have some kind of an inclination or temptation towards you. So talking in a way which is so melodious or so caring and so comforting, that is not permitted. When it comes to women talking to men, they have to be strong, and then they have to be in a way that they are not attractive towards they are not attracting the men towards them. So that is, if you not to fall in the traps of fitna, first of all, don't be in a place where there is no no one else apart from that one who is not mahram to you. One of the other things that we have, that is regarding the dress code for both men and women, wearing anything which is known as libasu shuhra in our fiqh. Libasu shuhra means anything that I'm going to wear which is generally not worn. For example, I come out with a fluorescent yellow or fluorescent green or fluorescent pink dress attire, which generally men they don't wear. That is libasu shuhra. That is haram, not permitted. And the same thing, if a woman does that, that what is not practiced generally in the society that you are living in, and everyone is going to look at you and then stare at you, that is not permitted, and that will be haram. That is called libasu shuhra. It could be to anything. It could be the lifestyle I have, it is the dress code I have, even the car that I use. If it's just so that people they look and they gaze at you, if it is for that reason, that is not permitted, and that will be haram. So anything which attracts men towards you, may that be the dress code, may that be the makeup, may that be the jewelry, the ornaments that have been worn, or even the shoes or the footwear. Quran says, وَلَا تَبَرَّجْنَا تَبَرُّجَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ, and then do not flaunt your finery like the former days of ignorance, like this how they in the era of Jahiliyyah they used to adorn themselves and then come in the streets just to attract the opposite gender. Allah says that is forbidden, that is not allowed. Now, one of the riwayat that we have, Imam says that if you walk in the streets, for example, I'm walking in the streets and then the tapping of my shoes, I get happy by the tapping of my shoes, says that is that person who gets happy by the tapping of his own shoes, some kind of a pride in him, says that person is mal'oon, distance from the special share of mercy of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. Likewise, Quran says, وَلَا يَضْرِبْنَ بِأَرْجُلِهِنَّ لِيَعْلَمَ مَا يَخْفِينَ مِنْ زِينَتِهِنَّ. And sometimes people, women, when they are walking, they want to thump their feet such that everyone around them is attracted to the ornaments or the jewelry that they are wearing. Say this also is ayah of Quran, says that also you have to be. What is told to us is that we have to be dignified. In Surah Luqman, if you see there, Hazrat Luqman to his son, he says that وَلَا تَمْشِي فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا, that is, don't walk proudly on the earth. By you walking proudly, don't think that you can get to the sky. You will get nowhere. And that is also forbidden. That is pride and showing, walking in a way that everyone else looks at me. Now, when I'm talking to a non-mahram, now how does she behave and how do I have to react with that also? Says, first of all, if it's a solo singing of a non-mahram, not permitted. I'm not allowed to listen to that. If I don't fall in the traps of haram by her listening or that recording that is being played, which is sung by a woman, then that is fine. But then the first ruling is that we have to refrain from anything that invites people towards indecency. Now, sometimes they come up and say that it's a noha, it's a marsiya, it's a qasida that is being recited. Yeah, if it's just a recitation without any melody, without any tune, all that is fine. But if you want to come and recite that with a melody, with a tune, with a ahang, with a naghma, all that is not permitted. If it's a group, yeah, that's fine. Now, there are some things that need to be observed when communicating with a non-mahram. That is, it shouldn't be as such that it attracts or there is some kind of a corruption or indecency, a trap that is being laid for the two. Then in such cases, all that has to be avoided. What about friendship? Friendship also is good, but when it comes to friendship of a non-mahram, may that be, now even sometimes they say that we are engaged and then not mahram to each other, but the intentions are to be married. So that girlfriend-boyfriend concept also, Quran says that is not allowed. Quran says, the ayah of Quran says, La tuwa'iduhunna sirran. That is, you don't promise, you don't commit with them secretly. If you like someone, and if she likes someone or he likes someone, then say yes, declare that I want to marry and I want to propose. And from that proposal date until the wedding, that is, it's going to be a total interaction within the parameters of deen, that is mahram and non-mahram. With just an excuse that I'm engaged to her or she is engaged to me, I can do whatever I want and she can speak however she likes. That is not permitted. Quran says la tuwa'iduhunna sirran. That is again how the first thing that we have that should be a lot of importance to that should be given is haya, chastity. A man has to be chaste, likewise a woman has to be chaste. That haya has to be observed in all levels, in all points, in all walks of life. And with chastity, the ruh that Allah wa ta'ala has given to us, that has to be given back to Him without tampering it, without destroying it. Now there are some red lines that Allah wa ta'ala has placed. Now this applies to both men and women, mahram and non-mahram, all of them. What are those red lines? If it is a gathering, if it is a meeting between the mahrams, between the non-mahrams, if it is accusation, ghibat, or if it is backbiting or some false talk, which is a lie, that is not permitted. Or if it is a talk which is tempting and which invites towards haram and indecency, that is also not permitted. Or any kind of a talk, or any kind of a conversation that would lead to fitna, that is also not permitted. Or what you call as loose talk, vain talk, indecent talk, all that is not permitted. Now all these gatherings, sometimes they have all night they sit. Now we've got a term called wajib, like for example, once upon a time when you used to go to school or colleges or universities. So that was wajib, that you had to go there. Now, before getting to that university or school or work or job, I had to get ready so that I be there on time. So this getting ready wasn't wajib. But because I have to go there, be there at a certain time, so this muqaddima of that wajib of being there on time becomes wajib. So muqaddimatul wajib is also wajib. So all these preparations that I make to get to a task which is assigned to me is wajib. Likewise, every preparation that would lead to a haram is also haram. So if, God forbid, a sin is intended to be committed in a certain place and a journey is required to get to that place, so all those preparations that will be made to get to that destination, to travel to that destination, will be haram. So that what would be done there is haram. The preparations will be haram. And if someone does travel to commit a sin to a place, that safar, that journey will be haram. A journey haram meaning that Musafir, his prayers, they are qasr. He has to offer his zuhr and asr, 2 and 2 rakat and isha. And if it was the month of Ramadan, he must not fast. But if it is a sinful journey, a journey which is haram, to commit a haram, then he has to fast in that month of Ramadan. And at the same time, all his prayers will be full, because that. So now this was a difficult example. An easy example is that if I just want to watch a movie and I know that if I watch this movie, I'm going to be up at night, and then if I sleep, I will not get up for my Fajr prayers and I'm going to miss it. So missing that prayer intentionally is haram. If I just slept without watching any movies and then I did not wake up, that's fine. But I knew that if I watch all these films and movies and all these shows, and then if I sleep, I will definitely not wake up for my Fajr. So watching these movies also becomes problematic, becomes haram. So any muqaddima of wajib is wajib. Any muqaddima of haram is also haram. So we talked about how the two genders, they need to cover themselves, both men and the women. We talked about these foster parents and that what is that what makes them mahram and those who are not mahram. Now, with reference to the tasks given to a woman, one of the main tasks given to her is to raise the children, to look after the house, especially the children. When Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salam got married to Hazrat Fatima salamullahi alayha, here Rasulullah defines the parameters, says that Ali, outside the house it's all yours, indoors it's all Fatima's. But then there was a mix and match. They used to help each other both out. She used to help her in his work outside, and he also used to help her a lot. She used to help him, he used to help her. Now, one of the main tasks which is assigned to both the parents and in particular to the mother is that أَدِّبُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ عَلَى ثَلَاثِ خِصَالٍ. That is, you train your children on these three fronts, these three qualities. What are they? First of all, حُبُّ نَبِيِّكُمْ. You teach your children to love your Prophet. حُبُّ نَبِيِّكُمْ حُبُّ أَهْلِ بَيْتِهِ. And the love of the Ahlul Bayt. Also you have to teach your children. And then قِرَاءَةِ الْقُرْآنِ. Teach them to recite Quran. That Quran should be recited. One of the tasks that are given to Imam al-Asr alayhi salatu wassalam when he returns is that he's going to come and set up all these camps and camps of Quran, like Darul Quran. He's going to set up so that people, they come and they learn Quran. So that is among the job descriptions of the Imam. So we want to ease the Imam from his burden. So we also have to teach others and learn to recite Quran, so that that little work is taken away from the shoulders of the Imam alayhi salam. And likewise says that ta'limul, all these adab and wajibat and muharramat, all of that has to be taught to the children. Until the age of 7 it is mustahab, and from then onward it becomes a bit tougher, that you have to teach them, you have to force them, that they observe all of these wajibat gradually, and inshallah they also become part of the society that Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has made, and that is the wajibat. Now, from among the other wajibat that we have, and that is exclusively for the ladies, it's the monthly cycle that they see every month. So we've got 3 types of bleedings that a lady, she has to go through. She sees them, and this is a benefit for her human body, that Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has created the system as such that she is healthy by that discharge. And also at the same time there are some observances that she has to observations that she has to observe at the time when she is going through that cycle. Now, one is known as haze, the other is known as istihaza, and the third is known as nifas. Haze, it's that monthly cycle that she sees exactly at a time, and then for a duration of time, and then it ends, and again another cycle is seen the next month. Now, there are some complex and complicated variations over here. I'll not go through that. I'll just give you the basic, and that what is made to understand. It's simple, because majority of the ladies, they should have that that kind of a cycle which is understood, and they know the time, and they know the starting time, and they know the end time, and what the rules should be there. And anything extra more than that, what is that called, and then what is nifas. So all those who are again not in this cycle, the regular cycle, then you can ask them. I'll not mention them here. So the blood that is seen at the every month, it's called haze, and then it's got some distinctive features to it. It's red in color and darker, and sometimes it may even be blackish. It is thick, it is warm, it gushes out with force, and accompanied with pain at times and burning. So this is called haze. That is the definition of haze. So ensuring that, and you want to know this is haze, the duration of that, the minimum duration of haze is 3 days. Anything less than 3 days is not haze. The maximum duration of haze, it's 10 days. So anything more than 10 days will not be haze. So these 10 days will be classified as haze. Any surplus, any overflow, any extra days, that will be called as istihaza. Now that is one. Now when is this seen? It's seen from the age of 9 years of age, 9 lunar calendar. So according to the solar calendar, it's going to be 8.5 years. So she can see from the age of 8.5 until when? Until she has a menopause, and that should be until the age of 50. But for Sadat, that is ladies who are Sayyida, from the descendants of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that menopause it can take up to after she is 60 years old. So as long as she's 60 also, she may be seeing her cycle, and that is a special bonus given to the ladies who are Sadat. Now the categories of women also, when they see this cycle or this bleeding, it's 6 kinds of women are there. 6 categories of women are there. So women who have a habit of a time and a duration. For example, she sees the monthly cycle on the, for example, 10th of January, and she sees it for 5 days, or she has it for 7 days. So from the 10th until the, now assuming that she has a 7 day cycle. So from the 10th of this month until the 17th of January, she has it. Then the next month, again, she has it on the same day, and then ends also on the same 10th to 17th of February, or maybe 11th to 18th of February. So the time is also known, the duration and the habit, both of them, they are known here. Now sometimes what happens is that the habit is known, that she has it for a duration of time, but then the time that it starts on that designated day, it may not be. It was not this month, it was 10th, the next month it may be 11th. But then the habit that was the duration, which is 7 days, that is still the same. So first it was both the time is known, and both the habit and the duration is known. In the second case, the habit is known, the duration that is, it is for those 7 days, but maybe 1 or 2 days it changes. Then we've got another category of ladies who do see them. Then this one, it's mustariba. Mustariba means that the third category is that she has a habit of time. That is, dot on time it starts, but it may not be the exact 5 days or 7 days. Maybe a little bit varies every time. Then we've got a category, it's called mustariba. Mustariba means the order it is, it's a disordered duration. Then we've got another category which is called mubtadi'a, that is a beginner for the first time when she sees her blood. And then we've got nasiya. Nasiya means she has forgotten. Every time she's forgetful. She doesn't know when it starts, but she doesn't know when it ends. She doesn't know how many days is that. So we'll just talk about that first category. That is, she knows that it starts on a day, it ends on a day, and she knows the duration. It's, for example, in our 7 days. So in these 7 days, she doesn't have any salat to offer. She must not offer any prayers. Fast also, it's not allowed for. If she is in the state of ihram, then tawaf she cannot enter Masjid al-Haram. And then physical relationship or sexual relationship is also not permitted when she is in her days, in her monthly cycle. So that is what is not permitted on her. Now the fasts that she will miss in these 7 days, she'll have to make them up later. The prayers that she will miss, she doesn't need to make them up after the day, after she has ended the cycle. Now this is regarding that what is wajib on her and that what is haram on her. So qaza prayers, no qaza prayers, and then the fast also she has to make them up after that she has performed her ghusl. Now that is regarding the rules that we have for haze. Then sometimes it so happens that the bleeding ends and then there is an extra bleeding. The cycle was for 7 days, but now it's still bleeding for another 3 4 days. So these extra days and that bleeding, it will not be haze. It will be called istihaza. Istihaza also, the features of the blood, they are different, and also the rules also over here, they are different. So for those 7 days that she was classified as haze, no prayers, no fasts, and then on the seventh day, when she finishes her cycle, she performs a ghusl. And then if there is bleeding now, the bleeding that will be seen, it's on of three types. Either it is qalila, or it is mutawassita, or it is kathira. So if it is qalila, that when the pad which is used now, the example that is given in fiqh, it's cotton, because the pads that they have nowadays, it's got a plastic coating, and it will not show which level of this istihaza is, whether it's qalila meaning the little, or mustawassita meaning the medium, and the kasira and the heavy flow. So it's the little flow, the medium flow, and the heavy flow. So for that to be known, whether it's a medium flow or a heavy flow or just a normal flow, a cotton is required. If the pad, the cotton that is placed, if it just gets the stains of the blood are seen on the surface of that, it's qalila. If it passes through the cotton, then it comes from the other side, then that is mutawassita. And if it does come from the other side, and if it stains the undergarments, that will be called kathira. So the rules for qalila, they are different, mutawassita, they are different, and kathira also, they are different, just in a very simple languages. And for qalila, what happens is that for every salat, the private area needs to be washed, and then the pad or the cotton needs to be changed, and for every salat a wuzu is required. For mutawassita, in addition to this, for every two prayers, one ghusl will be required. And then for kasira, where the flow is heavy, therefore, in addition to all of these rules that were mentioned for qalila and mutawassita, a ghusl will be required the next day. The first prayer that she will be offering the next day, she requires a ghusl, and then she needs to perform a wuzu, and then she offers her prayers. Now over here, there's a little bit of a difference of opinion between Imam Khomeini and Ayatollah al-Uzma Sistani. Imam Khomeini says that whether she performs the wuzu before ghusl or after ghusl, it doesn't matter. Ayatollah Sistani says that she has to perform that wuzu after she has performed the ghusl. In the istihaza also, the rules, she will be performing all her prayers, she will be observing all her fasts, and every other observance that she can perform. Now there is a third blood that is seen, and that is called nifas. Nifas means when a lady, she is delivering a baby, the first drop of blood, that is, may that be after inducing or when the birth has started to take place, the first drop of blood that comes out from her until the duration of her haze. If her cycle was 7 days, then for 7 days this nifas will be the duration of her cycle will be 7 days of nifas. Now this mas'ala, which is wrongly practiced in our communities, that from the birth of the baby for 40 days the lady, she has nothing to do, no prayers, no fast, that is wrong. It's only for the duration of time that she had her monthly cycle. If the cycle was 3 days, then nifas also will be 3 days. If the cycle was 7 days, then nifas also will be for 7 days. So in nifas and in haze, everything that is not permitted in haze is not permitted in nifas. So in nifas also, no prayers, no fasts. And then after this end of the period of nifas, only the fasts she will have to pay them off, perform the qaza of the fast. Prayers she doesn't. And everything else, like reciting the Quran, she can, but only those surahs with the wajib sajda, she cannot. Or performing a tawaf and going to a mosque or into the Masjid al Haram, all that will not be permitted. So, nifas duration is exactly the same number of days that she had in Hayz. Now, in this nifas, that is after the birth and after she has seen those 5 or 7 days of, if there is still bleeding and spotting after that, there the rules of istihaza will apply. There you have to see that whether this spotting or this bleeding, if it is normal or if it is medium or if it is heavy. And whatever category it is, the rules of that will be observed. That is, if it is qalila, only that area needs to be washed and the padding needs to be changed. And for every salat, you will have to perform a wuzu. And for mutawassita and for kasira, the rules, they are different. This is regarding nifas. So nifas duration is exactly the same duration as Hayz and not 40 days. That 40 days, I don't know where it came from. That is wrong. So the ladies who had been observing these 40 days of no salat and no worship duration, whatever they have missed, all those extra days of not praying and not fasting, that has to be made up and they have to perform them as qaza. One of the other masail that needs to be known over here is regarding idda. Idda means, or the iddat as they say, it's that waiting period after a divorce of a lady or when the husband has passed away. Now this also differs. If the waiting period or the idda is from a temporary marriage where the duration was fixed and then it came to an end and a physical relationship had taken place in that wedlock, then the idda over here will be 2 months or 2 cycles. If it was a permanent marriage and whichever kind of talaq it was, then after that talaq, then she has to observe an idda, and that is 3 months and 10 days or 3 monthly cycles. And if it is an idda of wafat, meaning that the husband he has passed away, in that case the idda of wafat will be 4 months and 10 days, 4 cycles. Or even if she is a ya'isa, meaning that she is an old lady and she has gone through her menopause, even then she has to observe an idda of wafat, that is 4 months and 10 days, whether she was a minor, whether she was an old lady, whether she has a monthly cycle, whether she doesn't have a monthly cycle. If the husband has passed away, then she has to observe an idda of 4 months and 10 days. Now if in this period of time, that is when she has to observe this idda, that is if a divorce has taken place or a separation has taken place or the muddat has been dissolved in the case of a temporary marriage and a relationship has taken place, she has to observe this duration of idda, meaning that she cannot resettle, she cannot remarry in these 2 months or in these 3 months or in those 4 months in the example of a wafat. And if she does marry someone in these days of waiting of idda, that man will become haram mu'abbad, meaning permanently he will be haram, and she cannot marry that man, and that man also cannot marry her, no matter what circumstances be. So if that is tampered in that period of idda, because there is already an agreement which is in place, that is, she is still the husband of that man until this period ends, this duration of time comes to an end. And if in this duration of time, with that agreement that being the wife of that husband is still in place, means that another agreement is being recited with another man, and that Shariat it doesn't allow. And if according to the fatwa of all of the mujtahideen, if a lady knowingly or unknowingly, if she does marry anyone in this period of waiting idda, then that man becomes permanently haram. One more mas'ala, and that is, because I had three cases, and that is, if uh, it is widely known in some of the communities that if the husband, if the spouse, both of them, if they don't speak to each other for 3 months, they believe and they say that the marriage, it dissolves just because they haven't been speaking to each other. Not speaking to one another doesn't mean that the marriage has been dissolved. No. For that marriage to dissolve, either a divorce has to take place or the husband has to die. Or God forbid, one of them switches from deen, that is, becomes a murtad, leaves deen, or now he has switched to another faith. So in that case, if either of the spouses switches from haqq to batil, then that wedlock, it dissolves. It is batil. So unless one of these three things take place, that is, for a person to get married, she has to go through this period of waiting. Now, what is wrongly known is that if they don't speak to one another for 3 months, means the marriage is over. The marriage is not over. The marriage is still valid. And if someone, without ending a marriage, without a divorce, marries another person whilst she hasn't taken the divorce, not even the legal divorce, it has to be a Shara'i divorce, that is a proper Shara'i divorce, not any masjid. Now the followers of Ahlul Bayt, they have to go to someone who can conduct that talaq Shara'i in the presence of two adil, and that she has to be in a days, and there are some conditions to be abided by. Only then will this talaq be nafiz, that is, be valid, and then after observing that the duration of those 2, 3 or 4 months, can she resettle. These were some of the rules, and if they don't observe that and get married, then she is still the wife of that first husband who they got her married, with this mindset and assumption that because they haven't spoken to one another for 3 months, and then we got her resettled, now that got her resettled, she is still the wife of that first man. And this is one of those things that is practiced and which doesn't exist in Deen, in Sharia. It is wrong. These were some of these rules that were exclusively put together for the women, and inshallah, if there is any question, I'm here to answer. وسبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.